this one an extension? Going to another year or?
Yes, we just
Okay.
wanted a renewal.
Call the regular city council meeting of Monday, September 26, 2022 to order. Roll call, please.
Beauregard.
Here.
Grams. Here. Kramer. Here. Pop.
Here.
Zins.
Here. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at it? And if so, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Kramer. Is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Pop. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Guests and citizens, anybody want to speak now or later in the agenda? Okay. Reports from staff. City Administrator Lammy.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Recreation Director West.
Golf course is still open. Clubhouse is closed for the season. This time of year, play drops off real fast. So, as of today, there was one golfer, so
Okay.
that was it. And the arena will cover later in the agenda.
Okay. Public Works Director Snetzinger.
Yeah, as Wade said, things are wrapping up for the season. Just about everything is ready to be winterized for the year. All the water systems blown out and winterized. So Public Works will be doing that here in the next couple weeks, about on schedule like usual. The campground will be wrapping up this week. Becky and I, well, she'll touch on it later, but the campground manager's position, we've interviewed for that. campground bathhouse, the new one that's currently being built, they're kind of at a standstill right now. The masonry block that's on order, there's a little longer delay than they expected, so we're expecting to see that by the week of the 16th of October. Weather permitting, they'll go ahead and get the walls up, get the roof on, get it weather tight for the year, all the doors and windows in, and then they, depending on the temperatures, they'll do as much work as they can this season, probably wrap up until spring. They said they should have no problem meeting their June 1st completion date. Otherwise, at Public Works, we're going to be assisting the Ranger Snowmobile Club, doing a little bit more of the rerouting of the snowmobile trail due to the solar farm. We have a little bit of dirt to haul and some assistance straightening some corners and stuff, and one roadway approach that they want to change. So we'll be helping them with that hopefully before freeze up. Just a heads up to citizens or anybody, the Snowmobile Club is going to be working on the Snowmobile Bridge this weekend over the Partridge River. So just use caution when they're in that area. The decking and stuff will be off. So, use caution when in that area. And we have 2 buildings wrapped up with the camera system the city had purchased through Advantage Systems. The campground is done. The city hall here has one more camera to be added, and I believe tomorrow they'll be starting on the EMS building. That's all I've got.
Thank you. EMS Director Olmsted. Okay. Fire Chief House.
This is agenda items.
Okay. City Attorney Brumfeld.
I'm good, Mayor. Nothing here.
Okay. Reports from officials. Councilor Pop.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilor Kramer.
Nothing tonight.
Councilor Grams.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Beauregard.
Nothing today, Mayor.
I'll make it unanimous. Nothing. Old business, Mesabi East Youth Hockey Association, request regarding Hoyt Lakes City Arena. You want to step to the
Yeah.
podium and,
So our first request that we had made to the city was just that if the part doesn't ship, it's supposed to ship on Friday. If it doesn't ship, that we can come up with a backup plan. And we had 2 suggestions. One was to reach out to, like, say, Proud Refrigeration. They said they have valves on hand, and could come and see if one of those would be an option. If, again, only if the other part doesn't come in, or allowing somebody to come in and see if we can fabricate it, just to get ice on by MEA.
Wade, have you had any more correspondence with,
No, it's still set for Friday.
still set for Friday? And you had a chance to look over their proposal from,
Yeah, Becky and I went through it.
okay? Do you have any questions for youth hockey?
No, I don't know.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, our main concern is just that if it doesn't get here on Friday, or it doesn't ship on Friday, that we're gonna be, mid-October before there's another council meeting, before there's a plan, and we just keep delaying ice. That's our concern.
I mean, we're not making money if, the city's not making money if there's no ice, so we'll do whatever we can to get that going.
Okay, perfect. And then we had just also submitted some articles, and I know you guys I think you guys have probably seen some of those. But we just wanted to keep other options out there, because a $4 million plan probably won't, be as successful as something that was significantly cheaper. And we just want to make sure that we have ice here so that we can offer a program to our community. So that was our concern with, with the $4 million plan. So that we discussed last time.
Yep, Wade and I did go through the articles. He had submitted those to the city council prior, as well as the engineer has investigated them. The Brooklyn Park Community Activity Center opted to go with geothermal, and they had to excavate over an acre of land to have that system in place, and so that's not something that the engineer found feasible for our arena. The Burnix Arena and Sartell used an indirect ice system, which is not something that we utilize. We cool the entire floor as opposed to cooling a coolant that then goes into the floor. So we can't utilize that same system. And the RS-45 is going to be soon in the same boat that R-22 is in. So the EPA made a ruling that it needs to be reduced, HCFs need to be reduced by 85% within the next 13 years. So we could utilize the RS-45, although it's not a one-to-one comparison. They are having trouble with rinks that are utilizing that, but we're gonna be in this exact same position in 8 years again, so.
Okay, we just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
other plans were being, considered and
Yeah,
looked at.
definitely.
Anything
The other
else?
thing that's encouraging there is your willingness to form that committee, and, we had a lengthy discussion during our last budget meeting and put it in our strategic plan to try to market the arena, to get involved with Mesabi East, with community education, so a lot of those same ideas that you had there
Perfect,
were
yeah, we
good.
would be more than willing to have.
We definitely need that committee
Yeah.
to come up to market that.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of it's on our backs and we can't, we don't have enough kids. We want to keep the arena going so we can offer it, but we don't have enough kids
Definitely.
to fully support it.
Yep. Just so you're aware, the council has tasked me with seeking proposals from marketing firms. So as soon as the council considers those, I'll obviously include youth hockey in that. I don't know if the council's going to choose to go with a marketing firm or if they're going to go more of the committee route, but we'll obviously keep you in the loop.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to new business, special taxing district presentation.
All right, so the City of Hoyt Lakes is mine and Mel's last stop for this presentation, at least for a little while. I'm sure we'll be heading out to some townships. But this is a presentation we did in front of the City of Aurora City Council and the Town of Hoyt Board. And so I will go through it quickly with you now. A lot of these things you already know and a lot of our audience already knows. So the first slide is regarding overview of the revenue recapture. So example, if I fall off my horse on South Loon Lake Road, the ambulance bills out, and then we have a cost of approximately $1,100 for that run. So we have a profit loss of $636. So that's how much the ambulance would make if it was paid at 100%. Medicare would only pay $476. So that would leave a deficit on that run of $645. So if I had Medicare and I fell off my horse, the ambulance would lose $645 on that run. 2021, we wrote off 59% of everything we billed out. And in 2020, we wrote off 64% of everything we billed out. That means that our billing company said there is no chance of you recouping this money, you need to write it off. So that's over half of the amount we bill out. And a lot of that is because of Medicare. So Minnesota State Statute 144F was recently rewritten. It added fire protection to the special taxing district. It removed any taxing caps that were on the statute. It clarified the establishment process, and it added language regarding levy responsibility, which we will go through later in this slideshow, which is just a packet. Establishment process. So the political subdivisions enter into a joint powers agreement, much like we have for the East Range Joint Powers Board, the East Range Police Department. You have to have the similar terms, what happens if the district is dissolved, etc. The political subdivisions must pass a resolution establishing the special taxing district. The county is the political subdivision for any unorganized areas, meaning St. Louis County would be the elected representative that would sit on that board. We did talk to Paul McDonald, and he does seem more than willing to participate in this process. The other 2 points on there are regarding fire departments, which at this time we didn't approach Aurora or the township regarding. So special taxing district governance. So the representatives on that board must be elected officials from each political subdivision. They serve at the pleasure of that political subdivision. So Hoyt Lakes would appoint one of the councilors or the mayor to sit that board. But they couldn't, for example, appoint Mel or myself to sit it. The special taxing district has the authority to levy on taxable real property within the district, much like a city. The township obviously taxes in a different way. Their constituents set their levy rather than the city council setting their levy. However, this special taxing district would operate more like a city, whereas the special taxing district would set the levy. The board may apportion the levy in many different ways. Some ideas that were thrown around is equally across every single property in the special taxing district, the number of service calls per special taxing district. For example, Aurora has a lot more service calls than Hoyt Lakes, so Aurora would pay more, that kind of thing. Or you can set it by type of property. For example, one that was identified when we were in Aurora was Iron Gate. They have a lot of calls, but they may not pay a proportionate amount of property tax for that. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about financials. So in 2021, we had a change of fund balance of $140,000 to the negative. So that decreased our fund balance by that amount into $967,000 of fund balance. 2022, meaning the budget of this year, we're anticipated to decrease our fund balance by $265,000, which will leave us about $660,000 in reserves. And as you know, you recently passed a levy which also decreased it by just over $200,000, which will leave us a balance of just about $400,000 at the end of 2023. The next steps would be discussing this as far as a joint powers agreement, and Mel and I did have a discussion. We think it would probably go best if we did all of the work and we presented the township, Colvin, Fairbanks, Aurora with a completed joint powers agreement with a completed resolution to pass, just so no one had to go through all of the work of doing that or to negotiate on. It seems like that would be kind of the best step forward from here. If that's something the city council would like us to pursue, we can definitely do that. I don't know that it's going to be in the best interest of the city of Hoyt Lakes to continue to operate this solely as we decrease that fund balance. Once you reach $0 in that fund balance, you then have to tax levy for the EMS department. And so you're looking at, if you're looking at a deficit of $265,000 divided by 13, that's how many levy points your levy would have to go up to support that department. So, any questions?
Oh, what type of a reception did you get from Aurora and Town of White?
Aurora's reception was really great. They really understood. There were a lot of questions about the proportionate taxing. A house that pays more would pay more towards this. The township's reception was significantly worse. Their fear is that for example, if the special taxing district set their levy at 3% of all property, just as an example, that their constituents would then decrease their levy amount owed to the township by that amount to cover it.
There are also a couple of people on the township board that were not there that would have been more supportive. Jody and John are both gone, so we basically dealt with
Ed and Undy.
I think it's important the public realizes that the amount of the write-off, you gave a percentage, but I'd like to clarify that as a dollar amount. In 2020, we wrote off $1,139,291.12. And in 2021, and this isn't including December, we wrote off $1,030,352.23. And like Becky said, this is money that we were told we would never recoup.
And so if you consider that to break even, you would just need to collect 30% of that for there to be no deficit in the department.
We're trying.
Yep.
We're looking into switching billing companies. Becky and I have a Zoom meeting with a billing company on Friday. They've guaranteed other departments that have switched to them 30 to 40% more in revenue. So we're working on that. Of course, you know, the legislative session's closed, but there were bills and stuff in there to get EMS as an essential service. There's things being worked on, but it's gonna take time.
I had a Rams meeting the other night, and one of the guys that lobbies for Rams, his opinion is there will be no special session this year. You know, and he spends a lot of time down at the Capitol, so my guess is that whatever's going to happen will happen next year. We're getting too close to election. I don't think anybody wants to make any big moves now. So. Do you have anything else, Vicki?
Yes, I'd just be looking for a consensus of the council. Do you want us to prepare joint powers and resolutions as drafts and present them back to you? Would you prefer that we wait and have another Tri-City meeting and see how that goes? What would be your preference?
I certainly don't see anything wrong with drafting something up and taking a look at it.
I think it'd be a good starting point for the other communities to read through it and then, you know, see what they think of it or any changes they would want made.
You need that in a motion to approve that, or?
No, I think we can just move
okay.
forward with that. It's not going to be next week, so.
Right. Okay. All right. Moving on. Hoyt Lakes Golf Course Clubhouse Agreement. Becky?
I met with Dan Darbo regarding this. The primary changes to the contract you see in front of you are a change in payment dates. Rather than listing specific dates so we don't have to hold his check, we just put it as the first or last payable of the month, opposite of Fisherman's Point. And then the last clause in there indicated that the lessee could not use the kitchen facilities, and I asked him about that, and he said that was a very old clause, that it was from before the kitchen got updated, and that he is able to use it. It does get inspected annually, and all of the equipment is up to code. So I just updated that last clause to outline those facts.
Everybody have a chance to read through this?
Is it also discussed with Dan that it would go for a bidding process next year?
It was discussed with him. It was also discussed with him that we will be switching systems more than likely next year. And so he seemed on board and fine with that.
But
So-
he was only interested in a one-year contract.
Correct. Yep. He said that this would be his last year, and he'd be more than happy if we wanted to go out for RFPs in like June and then hire someone for 24. He'd be more than happy to train them in and help them, and that way he doesn't have to sell off all his equipment. He could sell it to them or however that worked.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this clubhouse agreement with Dan Darbo?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Grams. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Beauregard. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2022-021, sponsorship of the Moose Trail. Minnesota DNR requests an updated resolution from the City of Hoyt Lakes supporting the Ranger ATV Snowmobile Club's Moose Trail project. The last resolution of support was passed in 2020. So this is just for a pass-through, correct, on this? or-
Yep, that's just saying we support the Ranger ATV Snowmobile Club and we're willing to work as their fiscal agent.
Okay. Is there a motion to pass this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Counselor Kramer. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Counselor Pop. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Eleven 2023 Fisherman's Point.
We're on 4.
Oh, no, on 22, Ranger ATV Snowmobile Club. This is a resolution supporting Ranger ATV Snowmobile Club in DIRRR application for utility equipment. The Ranger ATV Snowmobile Club is requesting the city apply for a regional trails grant from the Department of,
Range Resources and Rehabilitation.
thank you,
You're welcome.
for utility equipment. The city passed a resolution of support for a DNR grant application for the same equipment on 2/28/2022, which would only partially fund the project.
Basically, this is just matching funds for the equipment grant that was granted from DNR already this year. Just looking for,
So do you want to make a motion to support this resolution?
I'm actually going to abstain from this one.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Counselor Kramer. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Counselor Grams. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we're at Fisherman's Point Campground Manager.
Yep. As Public Works Director Snetzinger indicated earlier, we have done interviews. We are not quite ready to make a recommendation to you today. For that, we are still waiting for a little bit of information back from one of the applicants. So at your next council meeting, we would more than likely be prepared to make that recommendation. And I will reach out to all the candidates, all the other candidates, and let them know that we're still pending a little bit more information.
So I'll make a motion to table. Is there support? Is any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11.6, CMT request for tuition reimbursement. Lisa Gart went through the EMT school prior to being hired by the City of Hoyt Lakes. She is requesting tuition and mileage reimbursement for EMT course totaling $2,161.16. Mel, you want to give a little background on this?
Yeah, so Lisa, put herself through UMC school. She did online training and then had to drive to, Edina. And skated down in Edina to do her, hands-on portion of the course. So when she was initially hired, she asked what she would need to do to get reimbursed since we pay for training for all our EMTs. And at the time, the personnel policy, or the personnel handbook stated that she would have to work here in good standing for a year before she could ask the council for reimbursement. So the year is up, so she's asking for reimbursement. And I've also gotten her to sign the new tuition assistance agreement, the one that we have all our new EMTs sign. So this basically states that, yes, if we pay her after her year of service, we pay for her schooling, she will then continue to work another 2 years in good standing. Otherwise, she'll have to pay us back. So it won't be good. But, yeah. So she has worked here for a year in good standing, and she's requesting reimbursement.
Okay. Is there,
Is there still something in effect that will you be able to apply to the MSRB for a reimbursement on her tuition?
Yeah, I should be able to turn those in. It's about $600 for an initial.
So we can get some of that back. Okay, thanks.
Thanks for reminding me.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made by Counselor Beauregard. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Counselor Pop. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.7, emergency medical services mechanic policy. The city has never had a written policy regarding the expectations for EMS or public works regarding servicing and maintaining ambulances. The policy presented is how the current operations and responsibilities are distributed. EMS Director Olmsted and Public Works Director Netzinger have reviewed the policy. The City of Hoyt Lakes Emergency Medical Service Mechanic Policy. Purpose: the City of Hoyt Lakes operates the Hoyt Lakes Emergency Medical Services Department. The Tri-City Ambulance Committee, consisting of Hoyt Lakes, Aurora, and the Town of Hoyt, are all considered residents. However, the City of Hoyt Lakes has sole authority over the EMS department. This policy creates an understanding of the responsibility of the Public Works Department, EMS department, and the fiscal responsibilities regarding maintenance of the ambulance. Public Works responsibility: light maintenance of ambulance, including oil changes, tire rotations, brakes, maintenance and repair, light body damage, quarterly inspections. EMS responsibility: be visual inspections, including tires, fluid level, diesel levels, DEF levels, lights, sirens, notification to Public Works regarding any irregular noises, dry fuel or damage, interior and exterior cleaning. Fiscal responsibility: Public Works will log all hours accrued by the mechanic and other personnel for the above responsibilities. By January 5th of each year, Public Works will submit the hours accrued the previous year to the city clerk's or the clerk's office. The clerk's office will then complete an interfund transfer from the EMS department to the general fund to pay for the hours accrued. All damage, breakdowns, or maintenance not listed above shall be serviced by a certified dealer. The EMS department is solely responsible for this cost. Whenever possible, the EMS department will be responsible for transporting the ambulance to and from the certified dealer. Anything to add?
Nope. Like I said, there is some maintenance items that are done in-house, and I think that Kenny would be more than willing to continue to operate those. The reason more involved items weren't listed is because you want to, if we have a mechanic in the future who's not able to or doesn't have the time, you don't want to hold those responsibilities into that department and not allow it to go elsewhere.
I think that we should put, along with all these other responsibilities for Public Works, we should include mechanical repairs as needed within the capabilities of the city mechanic. Because I just feel like if they're not listed in there, they're not going to get done. And I would also like to add the bottom in the fiscal responsibility, that last dot, service by a certified dealer, I would like it to say mechanic. And also, in that same section, the first dot there, by January 5th, the Public Works will submit hours accrued to the city clerk's office. I would also like to get a copy of that. That's one bill that I've never seen come through. I pay every other bill within the department, and I'm not sure why that one's different. Not that I think anything's wrong with it, but it is good to keep track for budgeting purposes when I'm spending on mechanical each year.
To be fair, Kenny just submits the hours and we do the calculation based on wage, so we can submit that to you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, the other one that you were talking about was a certified mechanic
Yeah.
rather than a dealership?
Well, I'm just thinking, so if there's something that can't be done at City Garage, like to keep it local, maybe Brian Radke's able to do it down at the East Range Automotive. I just,
Wasn't that in the past the reason we couldn't ever do anything because he didn't have the capabilities on the lift?
right, well, our new ambulance, your, isn't capable of that one, is it?
The lift will lift the wheel jacks, won't lift the rear axle. So we've come up with a way of using jack stands. And so, along with our lift,
I'm just saying, if.
Right. No, I just was,
If it's a dealer, then I don't know every other possible person to work on it because he's not a dealer. So I would just like it to say mechanic, where
Okay.
a dealership has mechanics, so I think that language is a little bit better than dealer.
I think that should also be at Public Works discretion where it goes.
Right, Zach and I work really well together, if Zach doesn't think he can do it, then he figure it out. It's nothing new. I'm just concerned that if it doesn't say that up there, then I'm gonna be, you know what? We do have to remember that the ambulances all have city stickers on them, they aren't property of the city of Hoyt Lakes. The city of Hoyt Lakes employs a city mechanic to work on city vehicles, and I don't think that the ambulance should be treated any differently than any of the other vehicles in the city. And like I said, if Zach says, I can't do this, or it's going to work, like we've always done.
Well, it hasn't
We'll call
always,
it out.
it hasn't always been. When Tomahawk Ford was open, the ambulance.
I was not the ambulance director when Tomahawk Ford was here.
I was the mechanic at Tomahawk. They followed me from Tomahawk upon its closing.
If they are city vehicles, they are owned by the city of Hoyt Lakes, so.
I think I would have to agree with Mel with the public works responsibility items are very vague. I think it should be anything that they can't handle should then be passed on to a certified dealer or a dealership or whatever. But, you know, to list it to just this, it's basically saying, well, that's not listed on the sheet, so I don't have to do it. And it's gonna end up costing the city more to get the rigs fixed, which we were just talking about how much we're losing. We're trying to save money rather than.
Or whatever, they're emergency vehicles and they should try to be kept on the road for our citizens as much as possible.
And that's why we have been not turning down any work on it.
I just, if we're gonna have a policy, I would like to feel comfortable with that, I don't feel comfortable with this. And
So you're just saying, Mel, like general mechanical repairs as able by the city
within the
staff?
capabilities of the city mechanic, and then that's not saying it's Zach, it's whoever is the city mechanic.
When we made the switch, I wasn't in this position, neither were you, when we made the switch from BLS to ALS and added a third ambulance, the agreement was made between.
And the third
employee-
ambulance was added way before we went to that. We were in an old hall when we got third ambulance.
No. No. The third ambulance was just added,
Was it?
we were down here, it happened, Theo was on when we added the third ambulance, and it was all right in the vicinity of time making the switch from BLS to ALS. And that's when we saw the workload increase because the ambulances are on the road so much more. I can tell you the change from when we were a BLS service to ALS, the workload is probably tripled. Part of that being said is adding the third ambulance, so.
Right.
By only having
know.
a mechanic who's part-time mechanic, part-time equipment operator, it's taking up my person's time just about solely on ambulances and spot fires.
If within capabilities, I mean, could that include knowledge and time? I mean, if there's big projects you're working on and don't have time, it can go to a mechanic
Yeah,
if you
since
have
we got rid
time.
of that red ambulance, his hours on working on the ambulance has gone
Yes.
significantly lower.
Agreed.
They're,
But I'm also surprised the new ambulances require a lot more maintenance than the old ones did. Just the fact that they have emissions on them, diesels with emissions, these injectors that keep going out and all the death problems that we're having didn't happen 5 years ago when ambulances didn't
Would you like me to rewrite and bring back to you?
I think we should table this until it can be rewritten to what can be agreeable between Mel and Kenny and the whole group.
I agree. You want to make that a motion then?
Yep.
And I'll support that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Eleven eight, Fire Department Statewide Volunteer Fire Public Employees Retirement Association Retirement Benefit Policy. Becky, you want to touch on this?
So in the spring, when the paraforms came, there was discussion exactly how the statewide volunteer fire department para retirement was going to be administered. The city did not have a written policy how to administer that. There was quite a bit of back and forth with Ann Vreeland and Tony at that time regarding the policy. The two versions you see in front of you are two different ideas that were presented regarding that retirement benefit. They are both, Mitch has reviewed them as well as para and League of Minnesota Cities. Both para and the League of Minnesota Cities indicate that either policy can be passed by the council. It is within the sole authority of the council to determine the amount.
Just out of curiosity, who from Para did you talk to?
Sure. It was Sharon North. She's the administrator.
Okay, because I talked to Jen Milkich today, and she said that they won't tell you one way or the other. So what Para does, Para manages our pension when we went away from our own investment. We went to Para. Basically, we gave up all our rights in the fire department, and the city's only responsibility is a financial shortfall. Our only responsibility is to certify the good time service credits.
Well, that's not entirely accurate. The city contributes 100% of the city's fire state aid to that pension every year.
Well, that to October 1st.
Yeah.
Yep. But that's the financial part of it. The problem I see with this is, I think, so I've done some talking. I had talked to the Minnesota Fire Chiefs Association. They feel that this would open the city up for liability lawsuits eventually. Because in our bylaws right now, it says active service shall be defined as active performance of fire suppression, preventative or prevention, or medical response duties, or the supervision of fire suppression and prevention. To maintain active service, a member must make 50% of fire calls unless sick, work, or on vacation. Also attend one business meeting, one work meeting per month, and then annually the fire chief shall certify the member's active service credit.
Okay, Tony, bylaws do not have anything to do with the city. That's the Fire Relief Association. It's completely separate from the
Yes,
city.
but we follow ours, and that was approved when at the first. So, and then the other thing I have is, so if you're gonna approve 70%, Aurora, they don't have to be a first responder, they don't have to be an EMT. So we just put 5 new people on. Why would they stay here? To get 70%, they can go to Aurora. Aurora's pension rate is higher. I mean, the whole thing of creating a fire-only spot is so we can gain more people. I guess I don't understand why we would shortcall someone and say they'd only get 70% or 75% is my thoughts.
So Becky, a question I have is, where did this second version come from?
It was brought up in a captain's meeting.
No, that's not true.
Because
All my officers are right here.
well, I was at it. So maybe it was after or before, but it was definitely discussed.
According to my officers, Nate, do you remember that? Jared?
I remember discussions about it, but the problem we're having here is that I think when it was initially brought up, we did the research through Para, and Para actually told us that it was either a full pension or nothing. You couldn't prorate it in any way, shape, or form. So that was the problem we were having with adding these fire spots only.
Right.
And that was the issue that was coming up. So, and we were trying to do it where even if the city were to set aside a fund to pay, a pension for these old fire only, or if it had to, but according to the parent, it has to go through their pension, and you can't prorate it according to what they told us.
Okay.
So, and the problem we were having is that how we do it, so, and there again, you have that issue that comes up. Now you have guys that show up and want to be fire only, so why would we stay on that as doing all this extra work on the medical side, when we can just go do the fire only side and get the same amount of pension? And I think there was lots of discussion about it, because people were seriously butting heads about it. And, I do remember the meeting you're talking about, and the fact of the matter is that I think it came up, but I don't think it was actually seriously considered because of the parent side of things.
Right, and that's why I did talk to Para, and that's why I brought it forward, is because there was that discussion, and this is how Para said to do it, so.
Yeah, 'cause what she just wrote is you follow your fire department bylaws.
The state statute reads, duties required by the fire department under the rules and regulations applicable to the fire department, which is any policy or rule the city sets, not a bylaw.
I think I have two questions. Does the city doesn't contribute to this para, like as a matching, like they typically do?
You would be required, if the city were to raise the pension level to which it was no longer fully funded, the city would then be solely responsible for contributing to the fund. So if we were to, for example, raise the retirement amount to $2,700, that would be over what's in the fund right now. And so then the city would be required to fund that $20,000 shortfall or whatever it would be per year.
But raising it isn't on the table right now.
No.
We're just talking about the
policy
so right
itself,
now
yep.
we don't contribute to the para for firefighters.
You do. You pay all of your fire state aid towards it, but it's
Right.
something that happens administratively. You don't see it.
Right, it's just a
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
a pass-through. And then Tony, you keep track of everyone's good service credit, right? Like as long as, even if they're firefighter only, do they still meet all the requirements that they're supposed to meet to join para?
Yeah, if they,
The hours you track?
yeah, if they don't get their pension. So right now, we have 50%. And then we have our calendar, they sign on if they're on vacation. If they're on vacation, they're signed out. If they're at work, they let one of the officers know. We added into our I'm responding, so they can put their at work. Because, I mean, there's no way to really, we're a volunteer department. People work, they have other obligations.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna make, but overall, it's been pretty good. The one work meeting, the one business meeting, that's been a requirement for, I don't know, as long as I've been on 19 years, so.
Right. And Tony does track, and he does issue partial credits. So if, someone had a leave of absence or something, whatever, he does keep track, and he does issue partial credits.
Yeah, and para does allow you to, so if they don't meet their requirements, then I can give them 8 months credit. If they had 2 months where they just were super busy, they're gone, whatever, like, I know we don't have anyone right now I can think of, but in the past, we've had people who were retired, they'd go to Florida for 2 months in the winter, so we'd do around that way. But I don't think there's anyone now.
Being a firefighter only, they're still getting the same credits as the firefighter and EMT worker? Like they're
Yes.
still making the amount
Yeah,
of
so-
time?
Yeah, so this is, the para pension that we have is, fire pension. It has nothing to do with the lifetime member of the municipal fire department, independent nonprofit firefighting corporation, in capacity that engages in fire suppression activities, provides emergency response, or delivers fire education or prevention services on an on-call basis. So that more or less, you have to be, I mean, our pension is pretty well funded from back in the day. Dan can attest when they had the pull tabs in town. All the retirees now, I think Dan's the only one that's still on that. When they had the pull tabs, they were gone before I got on.
But
Yeah, and at one time, the pension was with the Fire Relief Association. And so the Fire Relief Association administered the pension, charitable gambling, and
Yep.
any donation funds. I assume you had two different checkbooks, one for the retirement and one for the gambling. So
Yep.
that's how it used to be administered. They went to para to manage their money. It's a little less administratively heavy.
Yep.
And as a liaison over the years, I have sat with Tony when we've told individuals they weren't going to get their service credits because they didn't participate. So I know that Tony does keep track of that.
And I know I sat on the computer and looked through the entire statute that pertains to the SVF para-retirement benefit policy, and there's nothing in there even talks about deviating. It only talks about your full pension at 20 years and prorating. Once you're at 5 years, you're vested, and after that, there's no other altercations like giving a certain percent for
There
one or
is.
the other.
There is. 353G07, certification of good time service credit, says good time service credit certification must be expressed as a percentage of a full year or months.
Yeah,
So it's
that I understand, but nothing like it's broke down as if you only do part of the work, you only get part of the pension. So nothing pertaining to that.
Yeah, the problem I have with the thing is if someone's gonna go and they're gonna meet all the requirements and stuff, I feel like why would we punish them by only giving them 75%? If they don't do their requirements, I mean, no matter what their job title is, they don't get a full amount anyways.
I think the thought behind it, going back to when it was initially discussed, is firefighter EMTs are not only making their fire calls, but they're also doing 24 hours on the EMS side, whereas firefighters or EMTs only are only doing one half of that equation. So I think when that was initially discussed, that was kind of the thought behind the second. I'm not arguing for one or against one. It's totally a council decision, but I think that was the initial thought process behind that.
Yep, that's what was brought up. And then as we started, I mean, we had many discussions as a department. And that was one of the things, like, as far as getting people, I mean, they can go to Aurora and get the same pension to just do fire. They don't have to do any ambulance. That's why we've tried different things to keep people on the ambulance, to get ambulance-only people. I know that was one of the issues when we created the fire-only, because the EMS only we never had before. We got that about 18 years ago, 18, 19 years ago. Adam Kipley was the first one. And then we just let him because he had an interest, but our bylaws at the time said you had to live in White Lakes, and he was in Aurora, and then it just kind of grew, which times are changing. Where there's quite a few people, I know there's 3 that live in White Lakes right now that went to Aurora before we had fire-only spots. But going back to this, I just feel that if they're gonna meet their full, and they're not gonna get their full pension unless they meet the requirements anyways, which all of us have done.
Do you want to act on this tonight?
If the council so chooses.
Well, how does the council feel about this?
Because I feel like if they're still doing all their credits that they need to be doing to earn this, and we want to retain our fire department, see a problem with version 1 if they're meeting all their requirements to get their pension.
Do you want to make that a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve version 1.
Is there support?
I'll support.
It's moved by Counselor Grams, supported by Counselor Beauregard. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor, I just feel like I won't vote because it does affect me, so I won't vote on
Okay.
this one.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, the regular meeting will close to the public under Minnesota State Statute 13D.03 for labor negotiation strategies. After the closed meeting reopens, the only item left will be adjournment, so there will be no other business discussed.
And then we can hold off on that section until
Yep.
everyone departs. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.